Hi, this video is going to be about our voice in a presentation. There's 5 aspects that this video is going to focus on. The first one is volume. The second thing is your pitch or tone. The third is how fast or how slow you speak. The fourth is going to be about word or phrase stress. And the last thing is pauses. Once you know your purpose, really start to think about your energy and emotion. What type of emotion do you want to give to the audience? And how can you stress that emotion in your voice? Remember, your audience is always the most important thing. And how you deliver your message is almost as important as the actual words that you say. The first aspect we're going to look at is volume. Volume basically is how loud or how quietly you speak. But you want to speak loud enough that everyone in the room can hear you easily. But you don't want to shout at everyone. Also think about changing your volume sometimes. So for example, you can maybe say a few words a little louder or maybe a little quieter. This will stress what you are trying to say just by changing the volume. The second aspect is pitch or tone. You don't want to be monotone. Monotone is when there's no feeling in your voice and you just sound like a robot reading something to the audience. That is the worst type of presentation you can have. You actually want to change your tone very often. So again, just like we talked about before, think about having some feeling and enthusiasm in your voice. The third aspect is speed. We want to usually speak near a conversation rate, so maybe about 125 words a minute. But feel free to talk a little slower or a little faster. And you want to change your speed sometimes. When we talk with our friends, we don't always talk at the same speed all the time. Sometimes we talk a little faster, sometimes a little slower. So change your speed throughout your presentation. The fourth strategy you should focus on is stressing a word or a phrase. This can be done by just changing your voice a little bit. You can do things like changing the volume, speak louder or softer. You can do this by changing the speed, speak faster or speak a little slower. Or you can draw out a sound. To draw something out means to make the vowel sound longer, so it puts emphasis on the word. So for example, longer, to take the O sound and longer and make it longer. That is to draw something out. Let's go ahead and use some of the strategies of word stress on this sentence. This sentence says, in some parts of Africa, 20% of the adult population has AIDS. You can read it just like that. But maybe there's some parts in this sentence that you really want to stress. You really want the audience to remember this sentence. So what you can do is to change the volume. Now for changing the volume, again you can speak either a little louder or a little softer. Both of these will show emphasis. So now I can take this sentence and I can say, in some parts of Africa, 20% of the adult population has AIDS. Now, just by dropping my volume down just a little bit, it shows that this is important. This is something I'm really trying to emphasize. Another way we can stress a word is to draw it out. To draw out a word means to make it sound a little longer. Now, you don't have to make it too long, anything like that. But just something that's a little bit longer stresses that word. So maybe I want to draw out 20%. I can read the sentence now like this. In some parts of Africa, 20% of the adult population has AIDS. Just by drawing it out just a little bit longer than the other words, it shows emphasis on that word. You can also change your speed. Now again, you can speak faster or slower. Either way will show emphasis on the words that you're saying. So in this example, I might say, in some parts of Africa, 20% of the adult population has AIDS. I might even take the whole end of the sentence and just slow that whole phrase down because I really want the audience to focus on that 20%. Pauses are a great way to create impact, especially when you use a pause with a word stress or a phrase stress. If you use those together, that really shows emphasis about what you're talking about. But you don't want to have too many long pauses. If you have too many long pauses, this will make your presentation sound very slow.
And again, remember, we want to have about 125 words a minute when we give a speech or a presentation. But think about pauses. Think about strategically where you can use pauses. Now, oftentimes we use pauses after important words or phrases or sentences. This allows the audience to really think about what you just talked about. So if we look at 20% of the adult population has AIDS, after I say this sentence, not only will I make a word stress or a phrase stress, but I would pause after this sentence. Again, I would pause to create impact, to let the audience really think about the number I just said.
The final thing I want to talk about, and probably the most important, it really doesn't matter how fast or how slow or how many pauses you have or anything like that in your presentation if you don't have proper energy. If you don't have enough energy and tell the audience, hey, this is important to me, I really want you to listen, then your audience isn't going to listen. So out of all the rules that we've talked about today, the most important thing is to have some energy. Have some power and passion behind your words. That can really draw your audience in and make your presentation much, much better.